The first road racing event here at the Daytona International Speedway, Formula One. This used to be the Daytona 200. Now it is a support race run earlier in the week. 100 miles only for the bikes that are the 750cc Yamahas that dominated. They won the last 13 years. And the Honda, talk about role reversal, 500cc. That's the favorite with Freddie Spencer. There'll be one pit stop, and the man to cover that on pit road is Bob Varsha.
Ken, that pit stop for these Formula One bikes will be more important than ever as these teams try to make their endurance bikes into 100-mile sprinters, and more importantly, try to make up the incredible speed gap held by Freddie Spencer, and we'll keep our eye on it.
Ready for the Formula One 100-mile championship race here at Daytona, and let's take a look at some of the leading riders in competition. On the pole with a new record of some 114 miles per hour, the 1983 world champion from Louisiana, Freddie Spencer. Then starting beside him comes Mike Baldwin, the four-time U.S. national champion. To start third from Great Britain, their favorite for a world championship some year, Ron Haslam. Next, Randy Renfro. He was Formula 2 champion in '83 and in '84, the Rookie of the Year in Formula 1. And Rich Schlachter, the former U.S. road racing champion, rounds out the front row. Other luminaries in this race include Wes Cooley, Jimmy Adamo, and Marco Lucanelli, the former world champion. For the start, here's Dave Despain.
The field is set, except for the pole sitter. Freddie Spencer has a problem. The engine has died on the line. They're trying to get the number 17 machine refired. That green flag is about to fall. Spencer quickly kicks it into gear. He's caught in neutral and gets a bad start. Down they dive into turn one. Traffic jam, Dale.
40 of the riders in the first wave just rocketing down into turn one to try desperately to get that lead for the infield straightaway.
Here comes the second wave of 3 waves on this start. They separate the field just a little bit for safety purposes here. Let's find out what happened with Freddie Spencer from Bob Varsha.
Dave, as Freddie Spencer pulled back onto the grid following his warm-up lap, he gestured to his crew that he was having some kind of problem with the face shield on his helmet. As they were making repairs using tape, the engine on Spencer's motorcycle died. A crewman got over the wall. They had to push him to get it started, push him back into line, and by the time that happened, the green flag had fallen, and Freddie Spencer was simply left standing.
Baldwin has taken the lead. Mike Baldwin, the 3-time U.S. national road racing champion in Formula One, number 1, leads this Formula 1 100-mile battle. Richard Schlachter up into the second spot. Randy Renfro and Ron Haslam also running strong. Baldwin up and away with Spencer in trouble.
That's really good lines Baldwin's using, Dave. He came out of the chicane, climbed high to the wall, and he used the banking like Spencer was describing in the early going to use it to slingshot his way down the back straightaway, diving for the chicane.
Haslam goes into the number 2 spot, passing Rich Schlachter. Let's go back and take another look at the start of this race and see if we can analyze what happened to pole sitter Freddie Spencer on the start. Here's the field down through the chicane. Let's go back to the start of this 100-mile Formula One battle.
Freddie Spencer's engine had died. A mechanic had lofted over the wall to push him off. Kind of got him out of line. That's definitely a disorientation on the start because it kind of takes him out of the normal pattern and frame of mind on the start of such a critical race like this.
Well, you about got hit there on the starting line as well. But here is Spencer whipping back through traffic. He's around Randy Renfro, and that's going to move him up into 3rd place. So despite the bad start, Spencer is quickly coming back. Now, these are Formula One Grand Prix motorcycles. They're the most exotic, the fastest race bikes in the world. They used to be the feature attraction in the Daytona 200. Now they run the Friday preliminary here at Daytona. And as we said at the top of the show, that's been a big controversy. 601 is Ron Haslam, the Englishman. Number 2 is Rich Schlachter. And then we see Freddie Spencer, number 17, closing in as he tries to work his way back up to the front after that bad start. Traffic, of course, is always an issue at Daytona, and Freddie's got his hands full right now as he whips around Schlachter and sets his sights on a tough international competitor. You've raced against him, Ron Haslam.
Yes, that's right, Dave. Ron Haslam is a very respected rider. So is Richard Schlachter. They work the infield beautifully. Freddie is really analyzing their lines and trying to figure out a safe point where he can overtake both these riders.
Obviously, the disorientation, the break in concentration at the start has not hurt Spencer too badly here. Remember that he has never won this race when it was the featured attraction in the 200. Now up onto the high banks where the speeds escalate on these motorcycles to 180 miles an hour. It looks like Spencer may have a move to make here as Haslam tries to hold him off down the backstretch. Terminal velocity at Daytona. Inside goes Spencer. He's up into 2nd spot. Spencer now sets his sights on Mike Baldwin, and we'll have more from Daytona right after Speedway. way, Dave Despain, along with two-time Daytona 200 winner Dale Singleton. We're watching the lead battle in the Formula One 100-mile preliminary to the Daytona 200. Number 1, Mike Baldwin, leading number 17, the pole sitter, Freddie Spencer. And Freddie's really got him in his sights, Dale.
I think right now all Mike Baldwin is just a moving target for Freddie. It's just the way he wanted things to go. Freddie in the past has several times gotten off to a bad start with Mike Baldwin charging hard to the front. Now Freddie's laying back, analyzing his lines, and just figuring out when the best time to move on Baldwin will be.
Freddie, of course, is going off to the Grand Prix Wars. In fact, just a week from Sunday, we'll start the World Championship season in South Africa. You see how much faster they are than the slower motorcycle there on the backstretch. The speed here, 180 miles an hour. Now the dive down into the chicane. And, of course, they draft on the straightaways just like the stock cars do. Baldwin has won the national championship in this class 4 times in all and 3 years in a row. Up onto the banking they go, and once again, Freddie's looking for that slipstream.
Here's a good way to analyze horsepower on the bike. Now, Freddie's right in the draft, Dave. The lead motorcycle cuts through about a 30-inch gap of wind, making it clear for the rider in second place. As you can see, look at the tremendous moves around the slower bike. That's one of the most critical things here at Daytona. Working traffic. Spencer is breaking the draft up high on the outside, and I think he's taking the lead going down into turn 1. It's Spencer by 10 bike lengths.
No doubt about it. Freddie using the draft beautifully. It works very much the way the stock cars make it work here at Daytona. But, of course, the variation with the road race motorcycles is that at the end of that straightaway, you got to whip off into the road course and start making those tricky left and right-hand turns. Earlier, we talked a little bit with Freddie Spencer about the draft and how it works.
You try to come up behind a rider at a going speed and then pull out at just the right distance. So you just clip his rear wheel, miss it, and then it slingshot, it slingshots you by. And you want to do it. The toughest thing about Daytona is that if you do it too soon, they get back by you.
Well, I don't see anybody getting back by Freddie Spencer today as he pops wheelies on that powerful Formula One machine. He has dropped Mike Baldwin back into the second spot, and here is a great battle raging on the backstretch for third. Rich Schlachter and Randy Renfro are hard at it at Daytona. They come side by side at 180 miles an hour. They split around a left rider, and make a sandwich as they peel down into the chicane. Schlachter, number 2, is third. Renfro, number 3, is fourth. A great battle and an interesting matchup between one of the veterans and a newcomer. A battle with special significance. For more on that, let's go down to the SVP Pit Center.
The American Formula One National Championship is a 12-race series, of which this race at Daytona is the first event of the season. Now note that Freddie Spencer, who continues to dominate this race, the 1983 world champion, won't be continuing in this country. He's going back across the waters. And Mike Baldwin, he is going to join him. He's been the 3-time American champion, but not to stay in the States this year. And Ron Haslam's going back to Europe. So really the battle that focuses on the American championship is the battle for third place right now. That's Schlachter and Renfro.
And for the moment, it is number 3, Randy Renfro, the second-year Formula One rider from Fredericksburg, Virginia, getting the better of old Rich Schlachter, a guy who's been doing this a long time. Singleton, you used to race with Richie.
Yeah, Schlachter and I had a lot of good runs back in our early days, back in the mid-70s or so, but Schlachter's a real easy-going type of rider. I mean, to meet him in the grocery store, you'd never dream that he goes out there and muscles these 180-mile-an-hour motorcycles around the way he does, but he's definitely a very well-respected rider. He's here making a good showing here at Daytona.
Nothing easy going about this battle as Schlachter, number 2, sets off in pursuit of number 3, Randy Renfro. Renfro, a little guy, short, slender. Schlachter, a little taller. And it looks like Renfro may have a little more motorcycle at the moment.
It looks as though Renfro probably got that advantage from his tucked-in style, Dave. Coming onto the banking, he was tucked in hard. He got a better drive. They're approaching 2 slower riders on the back straightaway, and they're having to whip around them.
Oh, that's scary stuff. Another traffic jam at 180 miles an hour into that chicane. Schlachter still in pursuit as Renfro hangs on to the advantage. How scary is that when you come up on guys at that speed?
That was so frightening, Dave, to approach 2 riders like that and then to be contended with the guy that's behind you and concerned how that draft whips you around at that kind of speed as well. That's something to be contended with.
They're running 180 miles an hour as they whip up the front straightaway. Renfro leading. Schlachter really hot on his tail. He's reeling them in as they come down to the start-finish line. You think he's going to make a run at him here, Dale?
It looks as though both guys are going in. They have a good draft on them and going into the corner, and it looks as though Schleicher's in just a little bit deep, Dave. He looks like he's down into your territory there. Do you have a patent on that line or something?
Come on, quit picking on me. Schleicher in trouble. He got out almost to the grass, and that's going to cause him to lose ground on Renfro in the race for third. Meanwhile, up front, Freddie Spencer is smooth as silk and pretty as a picture. Popping wheelies at Daytona. We'll be back with more of the Formula One battle right after this timeout. Versus Formula One machines. That's the big debate of Bike Week 85. The Daytona 200 is now for superbikes, and as a result, Formula One world champion Eddie Lawson has stayed home.
Well, we really didn't think it was very cost-effective to bring the world champion Grand Prix motorcycles for a Friday afternoon backup show with no spectators. It costs a great deal of money to fly all that stuff halfway around the world to come here for a Friday afternoon show, so we just sent it straight on to South Africa, and we're testing down there.
Spectator can go in and buy one of the bikes that we're out and riding in that class, whereas the Formula One class, that's the exotic machinery. It has its own place, but I think that the superbike racing has definitely helped out spectator appeal inside the United States.
I believe that the fans come to see the most exotic machinery available, and the most exotic machinery available is the Formula One equipment.
Well, I think it's a pretty good idea.
They could have done a 200 in the Superbike and a 200 in the Formula One. And I think for us to stick with the World Championship Grand Prix, which is the 500 class, and that's the #1 class in the world, it should also be here in the United States.
Any change in any part of life is controversial, and we expected controversy with this, but if it's had any effect at all, it's had a good effect, because going into the race, our advance ticket sales were the biggest in history.
Well, Freddie Spencer has his answer to the Formula One versus Superbike controversy. He's going to try to win them both. And the Formula 2 event to boot, an unprecedented triple at Daytona, the goal of Freddie Spencer here in 1985. Now, pit stops are up and coming as we approach the midway point of this 100-mile battle. And over the years, the pit stops have never been particularly good to Freddie Spencer. He's had a lot of problems over the years. Here is Mike Baldwin. That is the second-place bike on pit road. In for a routine stop. Everything appears well. He's back underway quickly. Dale, is that a break in your concentration when you come on pit road?
Well, preparing for Daytona, Dave, you always have to be ready for pit stops. That's something that a lot of the faster, winningest riders put a lot of emphasis and concentration on. We think that both of these Honda riders have got good pit stops.
Let's go to Ken Squire now in the STP Pit Center.
Dave, in part because he goes so fast, Freddie Spencer's always had tire problems here. And when they cut this race from 200 miles to 100 miles, they thought that would end the problem. But it hasn't. There is still grave concern down on pit road about the tire situation on Freddie Spencer's bike. Let's join Bob Barsha right now.
There's concern over the condition of Spencer's rear tire. As they wait for his scheduled pit stop, they've got an extra rear tire out and ready. When he comes in, they're going to examine Spencer's rear tire very carefully and then make a decision about whether to replace it or try to gamble that the original rubber will go 100 miles.
We'll have the answers to those questions in a moment, because Freddie Spencer is about to come on pit road. Dale, what's going through his mind right now as he approaches the pit stop?
One lap prior to this, Dave, he received the pit signal from his Honda factory pit crew inside pit row. He's concentrating now, and he's going to be making a little alteration in those lines coming around, getting ready to dive down and take that pit road exit.
And here he comes, swooping off the high banks. The leader is on pit road at Daytona. Freddie Spencer going for the triple, coming into the pits where he's had so much bad luck over the years. At tremendous speed, he comes flashing down. Now, hard on the brakes. He's in the pits. Let's go to Bob Barsha.
Dave, they're ready for the leader, Freddie Spencer, with gas and tires should they need it. The canister goes in. A mechanic seems to be reaching underneath. There's some kind of damage to the bottom of Freddie Spencer's bike. I can't tell from here what it is. Wait a minute, they're putting in another can of gas. We haven't seen that happen on any other pit stop. They may have a problem. There is definitely something wrong with Freddie Spencer's bike.
Spencer back out onto the racetrack, an extra can of fuel in Freddie Spencer's bike, and the bike definitely sounding ratty and showing damage underneath. Problems continue for Freddie Spencer. He got a bad start here, and now it appears he has more difficulties as he returns to action. Now keep in mind that he did keep the lead during the pit stop. as Spencer gets back underway. Let's go back to Bob Barsha.
Dave, nobody said it was going to be easy for Freddie Spencer to win 3 races, and it's turning out that way. There's more concern about the condition of his bike. During his fuel stop, they paid a lot of attention to the left side of the bike. He has broken the exhaust pipe on that side of the bike. Now they've let him go back out, but the problem is that's going to reduce his gas mileage on the bike, so they put in an extra can of gas. They told him to go easy on it, and they're going to have to hope that they can hold off the rest of this field.
You can see the gaping hole in the bottom of Freddie Spencer's motorcycle. That cracked exhaust pipe, the hot exhaust blowing out, has melted the fiberglass and literally blown a hole in the bottom of the bike. It's a threat to Freddie's attempt here to do what has never been done before, to win 3 in a row at Daytona.
It's what started out as we're going for 2 world championship, titles this year, the 250 and the 500. And of course, I enjoy riding the superbike race, so riding all 3 here was the thing to do. Getting a good shakedown on both the 250 and the 500, make sure they're performing well before the first Grand Prix, and then trying to win the 200-mile race on the superbike. So Honda provided the equipment, and I said, let's do it. So.
Freddie Spencer, a very, very successful young man in a very, very dangerous business. Imagine, if you can, the consequences of falling off at the kind of speeds he races. This is a young man intimately acquainted with those consequences. Doug Brauneck from Georgia, currently running 7th. But let's take you back to the Daytona 200 3 years ago. On pit road at 120 miles an hour, Brauneck crashing, tumbling, bouncing like a rag doll. 6 weeks later, Doug Brauneck returned to the racetrack to do battle yet again. Today at Daytona, here is Brauneck, currently running 7th in a Formula One race at Daytona International Speedway. Quite a comeback story for a brave young racer. The white flag is out. 1 lap to go at Daytona for Freddie Spencer. First step toward the Triple Crown, a sour motorcycle. Dale, he must be hearing gremlins by the bushel basketful in there.
This is one of the most exciting laps, Dave. When you take that white flag, you really start keening in on listening for peculiar engine noises and just the least little thing that can hamper the performance of that high-speed racing machine.
Well, Freddie's high-speed racing machine is not making quite as much speed as it was early on. Cracked exhaust pipe has robbed him of some horsepower and has increased his gas use. Question about whether he was going to be able to finish this race. It looks from here that he could coast in with the victory, Dale.
He's not going to take any chances, Dave. If you'll notice, he's going very cautiously into the chicane, braking behind the slower riders. Freddie knows that he's only got just a few more 1,000 yards to go. He'll be cruising to victory, and again, another Formula One race here at Daytona.
Up onto the high banks he goes. Final escalation up to top speed at Daytona. Around turn 4, where the stock cars romp and stomp at 200 miles an hour. Freddie Spencer is coming down to the stripe at Daytona, and he is going to win this Formula One 100-miler. First time ever for that format and that distance. Freddie Spencer has taken the first step toward his triple at Daytona during Bike Week 1985. Dale, it was a virtuoso performance.
He rode a flawless race, Dave, looking so precise and so confident in every move he made, even his pit stops. Freddie Spencer is a very diligent young rider that takes everything with extreme exercise. Every move, he does it with the sheerest confidence.
A happy winner. Freddie Spencer salutes the crowd. He's taken the first step toward the triple. We'll take a look at the top 5 and be back to meet the winner right after we take this time out. Stay tuned for more of the Daytona Motorcycle Classic.
Freddie Spencer victorious here at Daytona. This Formula One race start. What happened at the start?
Well, on the warm-up lap, I had my face shield. The screw that holds the face shield on broke, and the face shield come off. So I come in and we just taped it back in. And I told him make sure and get it taped good, And then the main thing is just so it wouldn't come off again. And so when I backed up, the engine was a little loaded up, and so I didn't get a very good start. But I wanted to make sure not run the tire too hard at the beginning, so that it would last the whole race.
All right, a problem at the end of the race, of the exhaust system.
Yes, right before the gas stop, the exhaust system broke, and so it really cut down on the power real bad, and so I would have to run a gear lower down the straightaway, but I would increase my speed in the infield, just ride it a lot harder, and fortunately, they didn't make up any time, and then I won, so all that matters, we won, but I'm looking forward to the other 2.
Congratulations on a fine performance.
Thanks a lot, Ken.
And so the fans begin to file out of Daytona International Speedway. They've seen 1/3 of the spectacle they came hoping to enjoy. Freddie Spencer has won a 100-mile Formula One battle at Daytona.